PWC is out with a new survey looking at what's next for America's workforce post the COVID-19 pandemic as more and more Americans get vaccinated. So to talk about all this, we want to bring in Bhushan Sethi. He's PWC's People and Organization Global Leader. Bhushan, great to have you on the program here. More and more companies, we've been talking about it with a number of business leaders over the last several weeks, talking about this transition from work from home to bringing employees back to the office. Your survey found that employees' priorities has really shifted over the last 12 months. How so?
Well, one thing interesting, and thanks for having me, Shana and Adam, is the worker flexibility. So workers are feeling pretty confident, but they want flexibility and meaning in their work. Over a third have actually relocated or looking to relocate on a permanent or temporary basis. So they want that flexibility. They're open. Younger people actually are more mobile and are looking for that. They're also looking for time as a currency. We're all struggling with juggling lots of things in addition to our work from home. So they're actually saying, give me paid time off, give me time to volunteer for events that are meaningful to me, give me vacation and other things beyond just compensation. So that sense of meaning in my work, but also give me the currency of time, was also an interesting finding.
I'm wondering if, and it's too soon for any of us to know, but when those employees, because we're talking about essentially white collar employees who can work from home, when there's a pushback, I don't know how you organize the millions of men and women who work from home to then approach employers and say, you know what, you got to pay me if I'm sitting back down at the computer after 6 p.m. You know, this is coming down the pike, don't you think?
It is, Adam. But I think what we're seeing from companies that have office workers, the return to the workplace is slow and steady. It's based on preference. We've seen a few employers reopen and have said 10%, maybe 20% occupancy. We've also got to remember that 78% of the US workers have actually been working from their essential workplace today. So I think it's going to be different. What we're seeing is all employees want safety, whether that's physical safety on my way to work or at my workplace, or it's the safety around the mental health and the pandemic fatigue. So back to elements that companies can control, like the element of time and how they manage schedules and the right inclusive leadership culture for people who are working remote. They're the things that businesses can work on right now that are within their control, whether we're talking about essential workers or office workers.
Bhushan, it was interesting. I was going through these results, and younger workers, specifically millennials and Gen Z, remote work was a top priority for them. So are companies going to have to offer this work from home option just in order to attract that top talent?
I'd say it depends, Sean. It's a great question. Well, it depends on where you are right now. So we're seeing urban center, large financial institutions or technology firms looking to bring younger workers back more quickly because younger workers are wanting that. Whereas others in other areas, like you've seen, the relocation of some of the digital nomads, the younger workers may be relocating because of different lifestyle, different taxation, or different opportunity. We're seeing that. So businesses are going to have to design for both if they want to attract the right talent and meet their people where they are.
Have the businesses figured out, and maybe legal minds already know the answer to this, but if your business is New York City, but you've moved to, say, South Florida, how you tax? I mean, I remember living in what they called the North Coast in Ohio. But if you lived outside of Cleveland, outside of Cuyahoga County, but worked there, you still had to pay a tax because you worked inside the county at a lower rate. Has this all been figured out?
It's being figured out. So employer and employee tax obligations around where you work are real. And so companies are starting to track that. Some companies have said you cannot relocate beyond a certain mileage because we want the optionality of hybrid work 2 to 3 days a week. Others have said work from anywhere, but we need to make sure that we're compliant with both individual and employee taxes. Taxes are one consideration for why people choose to relocate, but again, there's other lifestyle factors as well. I think the data that firms need around that topic is still things that they're going to have to work on over the course of the next few months and year.
Bhushan, your survey also mentioned the impact that COVID has had on working women and specifically mothers here. We've seen nearly 3 million, I believe the number was, of women drop out of the workforce over the last 12 months. I know you also spoke with a number of chief human resource officers there. What is the best way to address this? How do some of these HR leaders plan to address this issue? Because that, of course, will be something that needs to be addressed and should be addressed here going forward.
Yeah, so thanks, Shana. One of the things that firms are doing right now is to say, what can we control? We can control how we make people feel. So the highest focus is now on inclusive leadership for those people who are working remote. So as we bring people back or they're working remote, how do we make sure everyone feels like they belong, whether it's in a conference call, a meeting, in the office, progression. So that's really important. The other thing firms are doing is they're tracking this data. They're saying, how do we become more inclusive? How do we make sure that we can change the schedules, change the culture, change access for people so that we can bring every demographic into the workforce? The more we lose females or minorities or anyone with disabilities, it's a real challenge. And it does factor into the reopening for certain firms, some firms are saying, let's keep work remote so we don't have to deal with some of these challenges.